guys, welcome back to my channel where I just continually prove to have a big book buying problem. I am shocked, but I actually haven't done a book haul in 5 months. Part of me wishes that that was just because I wasn't buying any books, but we all know that that's just not the truth. I keep track of how many books that I buy each month in my book journal, and I bought 14 in January, 5 in February, 7 in March, and 11 in April, which I think gives me 39 books that I've bought so far this year, which is insane. Today I'm just going to be going over the ones that I bought in the last 2 months, so in March and April. This bag is very heavy, but this is only like 2/3 of the books. Also, I rearranged my room and I'm trying out a new filming situation. I don't really know how I feel about it, so we're just testing something new. We'll see if I like it. I might hate it, but it is what it is. Nobody really cares. Now, because I simply cannot do it any other way, we are going to do it in order of when I bought them. So we will start with the books I bought in March. First up is The Serpent in the Wings of Night by Carissa. My camera is annoying me. One moment. Is this better? Worse? Okay, I think this with my just intense shadow behind me is much better than the squiggly line thing. I do not know how to get it to stop doing that. Anyways, the first book that I got is The Serpent in the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent, and this is one that I actually had read on my Kindle and I wanted a physical copy of because I really enjoyed it. It's the first book in an adult fantasy romance series about vampires who are competing in this big trial that I think happens once every 100 years. And our main character, Araya, is a human and she's competing against a bunch of these vampires, and it's in a world where humans and vampires don't really coexist very well, so it's pretty high stakes, and I thought it was fun. I gave it 4 stars, and I definitely want to continue the series on my Kindle probably, and then I will buy the physical copies if I still enjoy them. Next, I have a book that I bought just because the cover is really gorgeous, and I don't normally do this. It's the one thing that I am pretty good about with my book buying is I don't just go based off cover usually, but this one is just... Do you see that? I was blown away when I saw this. With my light on, it is so reflective, but it is this really pretty like blue silvery sprayed edges that are super metallic. It is of course A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. I feel like I've been seeing this book everywhere. I think it was a book of the month pick, and it was just getting talked about a lot. I don't necessarily love the actual like dust jacket. I find it a little bit odd that she's just choking herself. I don't really get what it is, but I think that the naked hardcover is really pretty. It has this just like cute embossed thing on the front, and then the side has the same foiled really pretty bluish silver font, and I just thought it was really cute. This is not a special edition, at least as far as I know. It might be kind of like Fourth Wing where this is just the first edition that gets printed like this. I feel like I've only ever seen copies of it in stores with these sprayed edges, so there were definitely a ton of them. As for the actual book itself, the important part, what's inside here. It is a Norse mythology inspired book, so it is kind of like Viking-esque. At least that is my understanding of what Norse mythology means. It's the first book in a new series. I have no idea how many are going to be in the series. I couldn't tell you what the plot is actually about, but I read the first few pages in Barnes before I bought it, and I thought it sounded good, so that mixed with the sprayed edges, I just could not help myself, so she came home with me. Then I picked up Happily Never After by Lynn Painter, which is a newer release. I don't remember when it came out, but I have loved Lynn Painter's new adult novels. I think they're called new adult, which basically just means they're like early 20s, which was Mr. Wrong Number and The Love Wager. I really loved those, so I was very excited to get a new adult book from her. It is a romance like all her books are, and it's about Sophie, who is about to get married, but I think a few days before she finds out that her fiance has been cheating on her again. So she books this guy, Max, to come and object at her wedding. She's afraid to just call off the wedding herself because I think that her fiance's dad is her dad's boss. So she doesn't really want any sort of negative repercussions for her father. So she hires this guy to object at the wedding and basically say like, hey, you're a piece of trash, you've been cheating on her, blah, blah, blah. After that, she's like, hey, this whole wedding objecting thing is pretty cool. Why don't we start doing it together? And it's obviously a romance between the two of them. I think it sounds like a very unique idea. It's not like anything I've ever read before, and I just love her writing, so as long as the writing is similar to the first two, I think I'm going to love this. Next, we have As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson, which is the last book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. I read the second book in March, and pretty much right after I went and got this one because I want to be able to complete the series soon. If you are unfamiliar with the series, it's a super popular young adult mystery thriller. Our main character is Pip, and in the first book, she's investigating a murder that happened a few years ago in her town. It was closed as a murder-suicide, but I think that the bodies were never found, and she doesn't believe that the murder-suicide thing is actually correct, so she just investigates on her own. The story kind of goes from there, and I have absolutely no clue what happens in book 3, but I'm excited to finish it. I am very excited about this next one, but I don't know when I'm gonna read it, and that is The Cruel Prince by, is this Holly Black? I get Holly Jackson and Holly Black mixed up actually, but this is a young adult fantasy. It's the first book in, I think, a trilogy. I genuinely have no clue what the plot is. I just know that it has fairies, I think, and a very small subplot of romance that people eat up. But this is a really loved series and I've always really wanted to read it. I actually plan on doing a reading vlog of reading the whole trilogy at some point because it's so hyped up and I want to just see how I feel about it and read them all in one go. I also read the first chapter of this one while I was in Barnes and I really loved it, so it got me very excited. I really don't know when I'm gonna fit this in, but I want to make it a priority to do sometime this year because I really want to see what the hype is about. Then I got Done and Dusted by Lila Sage, which is like one of the cutest covers I've ever seen. I feel like the cover is a big reason why this book got really popular. It's just a cute little cowboy romance. I feel like I don't need to know any more than that going into it. A lot of people really loved this, and then a lot of people said it was good, but just like kind of average, which I feel like is kind of all that I need for a romance like this. So I have a good feeling that this will be just a fun little summer read, hopefully. Last book that I bought in March was Happy Place. I was so excited to see this at Costco in a paperback. I've only read one Emily Henry, which is People We Meet on Vacation, but I really enjoyed it, so I want to continue reading more of her books, and this is everybody's favorite. I've heard people talk about this so much that I know the characters' names are Harriet and Wynne. I cannot even remember the names of characters in books that I've read before, but I know their names. That is how much people love this book and talk about it, so I have very high hopes for this one. I feel like one of the last people on earth to read it, but if you do not know what this is, it follows Harriet and Wynne, like I said, and they have been together for a long time, I think, and then they break up, but they have this like lake house or something that they rent with all their friends every year, and I think it's the last year that they're going to the lake house, and they don't want to ruin everybody's mood by telling them that they broke up, so they pretend that they're still together. From what I've seen, it looks like it is very emotional and maybe heartbreaking, so I'm kind of scared, I won't lie. Moving on to April, where I bought 11 books. I was so bad, but we're not going to talk about it. First is Upgrade by Blake Crouch, who is the author of Dark Matter, which I really loved. It is a science fiction thriller. I have not really heard anybody talk about this, but I loved his book so much that I just want to read more from him. I was going through all of his books at Barnes, and this is the one that kind of stood out to me. It's in this world where people get upgraded. Scientists, I guess, essentially hack your genome to just make you better, stronger, faster, things like that. And our main character is Logan, who went through this whole upgrade process. It sounds like he has these long, nasty family ties to the whole upgrade process, and he does not really like the path that everything's leaning towards, I think. It seems like it's kind of dystopian, like people are gonna start getting these upgrades and humanity is just going to kind of change, but for the worse, and he is the one person that's capable of stopping it. If it is anything like Dark Matter, then I think I'm going to really love it. I have been talking for way too long. Then I got First Light Wins by Ashley Elston. This book I have been seeing everywhere. I feel like the cover was designed really well, like it's very striking to me. So I was seeing everybody talk about it. It was another book of the month pick, and it just felt like everyone was reading it or picking it up, and it just stuck out in my mind so bad that when I saw it in the bookstore, I just could not help but pick it up. I feel like the marketing team did a pretty good job with this one. The tagline says, Evie Porter has everything a nice southern girl could want: a doting boyfriend, a house with a white picket fence, a tight group of friends. The only catch, Evie Porter doesn't exist. I know that she has some sort of fake identity and she is on some sort of job. Like, I don't know what it is that she does, but it's obviously something very sketchy, I think. It almost sounds like she's a hitman or something, but I really don't want to know anything. I love to go into books blind, especially mystery thrillers, so I'm gonna leave it at that. At the time that I bought this, I wasn't really feeling a lot of the mystery thrillers that I have in my collection. I don't know why, but none of them were drawing me in. Nothing was making me want to read them. I really haven't read many mystery thrillers this year, but this one just really drew me in and made me want to read it, so I think I will be getting to it pretty soon. Then I got Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt, and I have already read this, and this is one of my favorite books that I've read all year. I highly recommend this. I love it. I think the concept was just so cute and sweet and unique, and I just want everyone to read it. This is another book that as soon as I bought it, I just didn't want to read anything else. I kept looking at it and wanting to pick it up off my shelf, and I finally let myself. And I'm so glad I did because I really loved it. I'm pretty sure I gave it a 4.5 because it just never gave me those 5-star feelings, but I really, really enjoyed it. You follow a few different people in this book, but our main character is Tova, who is a woman that's I think in her 70s, and she is kind of the janitor of this aquarium, and she ends up forming this bond with the octopus there. She lost her son 25 years ago. He just vanished, and she is still struggling with that a lot, and that is definitely a big part of the story, but you just see her and a bunch of other people. You just see into their lives a little bit, and you get the point of view of Marcellus the octopus. And it sounds kind of silly, and maybe it sounds boring to people, but I thought it was just really sweet. When I heard people talking about this, I thought that the octopus actually spoke out loud, and in case that would turn you off from reading this, he does not. You do get his point of view, but it's more like a diary entry. You're just hearing his thoughts really, but he doesn't talk. Like nobody thinks he talks, which was the one thing that kind of concerned me or just confused me before I read it. So just wanted to put that out there because I feel like a lot of people might be skeptical to start it if they think he's gonna start talking. If you like a cozy, sweet, wholesome read, then I really recommend this. I think you would love this. I really want everyone to read it. It just was so good. Next was definitely an impulse buy at Costco. I don't think I'd ever heard of this before, but the cover was really cute. Every time that I saw it in Costco, I was very intrigued, so I just finally picked it up. And that is The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods. I think it is a general fiction with some magical realism maybe, or it could be an actual like fantasy book. I'm not really sure. I don't really know what it's about, so I'll just read you the back. For too long, Opaline, Martha, and Henry have been the side characters in their own lives. But when a vanishing bookshop casts its spell, these three unsuspecting strangers will discover that their own stories are every bit as extraordinary as the ones found in the pages of their beloved books. By unlocking the secrets of the shelves, they find themselves transported to a world of wonder where nothing is as it seems. It's kind of giving Magic Treehouse. Anybody else feel that? I haven't heard a single person talk about this. I think I looked it up on Goodreads and it had pretty decent ratings, but it sounds like it could be really cute, and I want to branch out a little bit. I don't want to just be reading authors that are all super popular or books that I've heard people talk about a million times, so I thought I'd give it a chance. Then I was at this Barnes that had a huge selection of blind date with the books, which was really cool. Mine does not do that, so I was very intrigued and I had to pick one up, of course. And what I ended up getting was Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I wish I took a picture of the outside and what the description was, but I think it said something like dark fairy tale, fantasy. That's all I really remember. I had never heard of this, although I have heard a lot about T. Kingfisher. I feel like she is very well known for writing creepy stuff, and I think that was one of the things on the book, that it is supposed to be a little bit creepy. It says this isn't the kind of fairy tale where the princess marries a prince. It's the one where she kills him. I don't know if it's actually a retelling of an existing fairy tale or if it just has fairy tale vibes, but it was a blind date with the book and I kind of just want to keep it as blind as I can, so I don't want to know anything else. I did look it up on Goodreads and I feel like it didn't have the best reviews. I think it is one of T. Kingfisher's least popular books, but you know what? That is fine. I have not read anything by her yet, so this is probably a good place to start. Then I got this book that I have been on the fence about for a really long time. I've heard a lot of people say that it's boring and then other people just really loved it. So I never had the desire to pick it up, but I was in this cute independent bookstore. We were in there for at least an hour browsing, so I had to buy at least one book to support them. And I came across Pineapple Street by Jenny Jackson, and for some reason, I just decided that I had to get it. I read the prologue and I thought it definitely has potential. It could be very funny and entertaining, so I just went for it. And I hope that I am in the group of people that really like this, obviously. From what I know, this just follows the women of a super rich family who are just kind of out of touch with reality, so it's just rich people drama. So I don't think that it has a crazy plot or anything. You're just kind of going through the day-to-day life of these people who are just so unlike most of us normal people. And that's why a lot of people think it's boring. There must not be a ton going on, but from what I read, I feel like even if there's not a whole lot going on plot-wise, I think it just has the potential to be really funny. This is another one, just like Remarkably Bright Creatures, where I have just been drawn to it and have been really wanting to pick it up, so I think I'll probably get to it pretty soon. I'm really just talking up a storm. Okay, next is The Last Word by Taylor Adams, which is a mystery thriller about this girl who I think is house sitting, and it's this very remote house. It's kind of creepy, and and she's reading this book that she really hates and gives a 1-star review. And she ends up getting in this online argument with the author, and then all of a sudden weird things start happening outside of the house. I think somebody's trying to break in, and she's like, is this the author that I was just arguing with? Did he take this so seriously as to come and attack me? Like, what's going on? I first heard Destiny Sidwell talk about this, and from what I remember, she really loved it and it got me really excited for it. It sounds like it's a very good thriller in the aspect that it's like very suspenseful and actually gets you really into it and nervous for your main character. And I don't think I've had that experience in a while, so I was very excited to add a new mystery thriller to my collection that I have super high hopes for. This is completely random, but I got Breaking Dawn by Stephanie Meyer, which is the last book in the Twilight series. Well, I think that depends maybe on who you talk to. It's book 4, and she came out with other books after this. I think this is the last book in the official series. I haven't read any of Twilight yet, but I do have the whole series now, and I want to do a reading vlog of reading the whole series sometime this fall. So I have just been collecting these when I see them at Half Price Books. Also at Half Price Books, I was so excited when I saw The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Eilington. This is another book that I have already read. It is the first book in an epic high fantasy series, and I read the whole thing and I really, really love it. They are some of my favorite books, and I have been slowly collecting the physical copies. I found books 2 and 3 on different occasions at Books A Million in the bargain section, so they were like $7. And then I also saw this one for $7 at Half Price Books, and I was just so excited because I have been waiting to complete my collection, because these are, like I said, some of my absolute favorite books, and I want the trophy of the physical copy on my shelf. I have talked about these books a lot, I feel like, but I don't really know how to explain them. It's the first real fantasy series that I read, and I feel like that probably wasn't my best choice because it has a very complex magic system and politics, and it's very in-depth. I mean, they are very long books. They only get longer from here, but I really loved it. Book 3 is one of my favorite books that I have ever read. For the last 2, I was just on a little weekend trip, and anytime I travel, I like to go to a bookstore and pick up at least one book there, kind of as a souvenir. I will write inside of it, like the bookstore, the date, where I got it. It's just my thing. So of course, I had to go book shopping, and I got 2 books, which are the last ones of this haul. We went to Books A Million, and my first stop there is always to the bargain section, where I found The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hilderbrand for $7. I was so excited when I saw this because she is the queen of the beach read, and we are obviously coming up on the summer. I have read 3 of her books, which were actually part of a series. I think it's just called Paradise, and I thought they were just fun, quick, easy reads. And I think this one is what she is known for. Like, this is her most popular book, if I had to guess. It obviously takes place on a beach, and it's about to be 90 degrees here, so I feel like if I'm going to be sweating, I might as well read a book about the beach. Last book is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater, and this was 100% inspired by Katie's reading. I've heard other people talk about this, but for some reason I feel like I have been so influenced by the books that she's been reading lately, so anything she reads I want to pick up. And to be honest, I cannot remember if she actually liked this or didn't. I think she liked it, but I don't know if she loved it. But for some reason when I was shopping, I was looking up all the books that I have on my list that were from her, and this was one of the only ones that they actually had in stock. And the last few times that I have been in Barnes, I always go and pick up this book and read some of it, so it has definitely been on my mind a lot, so I just decided to finally get it. It's a standalone young adult fantasy. It's set in Regency era London, and everything is about being very proper and women trying to find a man and that sort of thing. Like, it's kind of reminding me of Bridgerton. And our main character is Dora, and she was cursed by this fairy, so she has no fear or embarrassment, which does not really help her in these situations where she is supposed to be this prim and proper lady. And then she meets this guy, Elias Wilder, who is some sort of lord, but it says he is peculiar and ill-mannered. So if you combine him with her curse, I feel like she just doesn't have a chance of acting properly in this high society the way that she wants to. And that's really all that they tell us. I don't know what the plot is. I don't know if there is much of a plot. Maybe it really is just the London elite social setting. Maybe it's just a lot of balls and formals and things like that, or maybe there is some sort of background plot going on. I'm not really sure, but it feels like a sweet, cozy little fantasy, which is one of my favorite genres. I've definitely heard a ton of people talk about this, and I feel like I've only heard good things. Wow, that was a lot of books. I am definitely embarrassed that I got all of those within 2 months. I need to do better, but you know what? It makes me happy. Is that enough of an excuse? You know, May is a new month. We will see if I am better and I don't buy as many books. But in the end, I mean, it is what it is. I am the way I am. I just can't change it. So yeah, those are the 18 books that I bought. Pretty much all of them I am super excited to get to. Honestly, it's been really hard to pick out books from my TBR because I just have so many that I want to read, which is definitely a great problem to have. But if you have read any of these and you want to help me out, then please let me know which of these you think that I should read first. It's always so interesting when I do book hauls or TBR videos to see what you guys recommend. But yeah, that's kind of the end of the video. Whenever you're watching, I hope you are having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye!